What's up, everyone, and welcome into episode number 493, where it is my honor and privilege to introduce a special guest joining this episode, and that is Northwood photographer and graphic designer Ty Klopf. How are you doing, Ty? Appreciate you joining. Also, he's the graphic designer of this podcast as well, so any interview you see, he is the guy that makes it. So appreciate you joining today.
Doing very well, actually. It's kind of a long day right now, but get to sit down, talk to you for a little bit, and finish my day off with a banger, I should say.
I was just going to say, I hope this is more of a highlight of your day rather than like having class, and class is more fun than what this is. That wouldn't be a good podcasting host part of it, but hopefully this is a more highlight of your day, at least towards the end of it.
I get to talk about Northwood. I get to talk about my career. Kind of makes it a highlight, I guess.
Yeah, no, exactly. And speaking of Northwood, what a start to the season that they have had. I know that I've talked about the Axe Bowl, talked about Northwood, SVSU, what that win and what that game truly meant. But then obviously you have Thomas More coming off of a win, a 10-6 win over them. Like, what are your thoughts on the season so far? I know you've been covering the team, taking a lot of photos, traveling with them, obviously knowing the players, the coaches, like, you're around the program a lot, so I'm sure that's pretty fun watching these guys perform as well as they have been.
I think it's just a process that has been building since Coach B has been here for the past 3 years. Just everyone, it seems like, is starting to buy in finally, and it's making some changes. You're seeing success. It might not seem like good success, but on the inside, it's a win. A win is a win. They know they have to get better, and they're going to get better going into week 4 against Ashland.
Yeah, and that's going to be an extremely interesting matchup because you have an Ashland team that is preseason favorites to win the GMAC. You also second GMAC team that you're going to play this year. How fun and how difficult do you think the GMAC is? Because I feel like the GMAC might not get as much love as like the GLIAC does.
I think the GMAC is very competitive within itself. I think you don't see as much. You get favorites. You have favorites. The GLIAC's a big favorite in football. The GLVC is a big favorite in other sports, and I think the GMAC is kind of a sleeper conference. So, like in football, we've had some big upsets. I think this week. I think ODU had a big upset against Tiffin this week. That was a shocker to some people after they didn't have a week 1 game. They came out, played week 2 and week 3. I think Findlay beating UIndy, that was a big game for the GMAC as well. And I think even Tiffin losing to Ferris was still a big game because it showed how much GMAC ball we can hold up with the big guys, especially the number 1 ranked team in the nation, I should say.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And the GMAC, it goes for more than just football. I think basketball and baseball, we hold our own. I think our baseball team here at Northwood went all the way to the World Series. The first time that I think a GMAC team has done that in quite some time, and I know it's the first time Northwood has done it ever. Basketball, Ashland, they just went on a big run in the national tournament. Again, we've had many basketball teams. They have that little exhibition game against D1 teams. We've had multiple men's teams beat Division I teams and stuff. So I think it's a sleeper, but it's very competitive within itself. Like anyone can be anyone, no matter who you are.
Yeah, and that's kind of the definition of a good conference, right? Like, you don't want one team that's dominating every single year. Like, you might say nationally, like, that's a good thing overall, kind of having one team just dominate, maybe be a top 5, top 10 team in the country. But you look at just the GMAC, and one thing that I talked about is the GLIAC versus the GMAC this year. That's something that seems to be pretty popular, at least in football. You have obviously SVSU, Northwood, which obviously the Axe stayed blue. So there's the GMAC.
Mm-hmm.
You have Tiffin versus Ferris. Tiffin was right there at the end of it. And like you mentioned, Ferris is the number 1 team in the country. I just love having 2 conferences that just go up against each other in different sports, especially in football, and are just right there at the end with each other. And it's something that you're also familiar with as well a little bit because you were a former football player at Northwood for a little while.
I was, yeah. So I graduated in 2022 from Coleman High School, about 20 minutes away from Midland, Michigan. I came in as a preferred walk-on under the coaching staff of Leonard Hayes, Gavin McMacken, and EJ Arnold. I came in as a quarterback. I was there for about 3 years, 3 seasons as a player, and then I kind of transitioned into an assistant, like a student assistant coach for the team. So I was still around the team helping them out. And then this past summer or spring, I kind of transitioned away from the coaching aspect, and I got more in towards the media side and kind of help building that career to set me forward in my future.
What was that kind of transition from a preferred walk on to obviously playing in college? And then you also had to deal with a transition of a new coach coming in. Was there a little bit of uncertainty there? Or was it more like when Coach B walked in, you felt pretty comfortable that you would at least be able to stick on the team? Because when a new coach comes in, you're a preferred walk on, it's not necessarily guaranteed.
Yeah, it was a lot of uncertainty at first. Like it was a lot of thinking like, do I want to hit the portal and probably go towards D3? Because I had some interest coming out of high school from D3, or do I just stay and stick it out? And if it doesn't work, I go try something else. Like if maybe I moved, there was some rumors that I was thinking about going to baseball. I played baseball in high school. I was very good at it. Supposedly, my head coach was saying, he said I had some interest from coaches. Do I want to go play some baseball after being a year out? But there was also like, you know what? I think I'm going to stick here. I know the education's great here at Northwood. I'm a big advocate of getting a good education as well as being on a good athletic department. I think Northwood has both, good to both worlds. Um, but yeah, that your coaching staff leaves after your first year, your first fall. So going into that spring, there was a lot of unknown, but there was also a thought that, hey, this is a new beginning. These guys don't know who we are. We can kind of have a flat surface, a new slate, as others would say, to prove yourself. And um, again, it's just that was kind of the look, and I built great relationships with the coaching staff that's here now, and still have great relationships with the coaching staff that was here when I came here at first. So I think keeping those relationships open and not closing those bridges, burning those bridges, closing those doors will be good for me in the future. And especially right now, I can still go up to Coach B's office and talk to him just about life. And that's, I think, a good thing that Coach B does and Coach Haynes did when he was here, is that you could just talk about life. You could talk about if you have a problem at home or even in school, they'll help you out with whatever you need. So I think that's another good thing that this coaching staff does a good job at, and especially the last coaching staff did a little bit.
Yeah, because people always talk about and focus on like the results on the field. And now we're kind of starting to see those results on the field really show for Coach B, the coaching staff last year. Obviously, it's still winning the Axe Bowl, having a winning record. Now you're seeing that kind of translating, but people don't talk about just the type of person the coach is. Like, obviously, at the end of the day, you're truly going to be focus on and like you're going to keep your job if you're good at the X's and O, if you get the wins or not. But like you talked about connections, like connections, especially for the business that you're going into, it's absolutely huge. Like it's all about who you know. It's about like the opportunities you get. And it truly seems like, especially when Coach B came in, it was about buying into the culture and having a reset. And it seemed like you took that opportunity and just say, hey, they don't necessarily know me, but I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to grow that relationship. And that's part of the reason why you're where you are right now.
Yeah, Coach B's big thing when he came in, he started we call it it's called the Northwood Way. It's essentially the blueprint of how to become a better man, starting off in college as a better student, a teammate, and a community member. So building your relationship with the community here in Midland. Coach B does an outstanding job of having guys volunteer. If that's more than just the Go Mad Day we have, they like going out to recess with the elementary schools. The first day of school, they always go out and cheer on the elementary kids to get them ready for school, because I know some kids are shy when they want to go back to school or even going to school for the first time. And the other thing is like being a better student, making sure you're on your classes, making sure you're keeping your teammates accountable. And that goes in that teammate aspect. Um, Even if it's off the field and on the field, making sure you're checking up on guys, making sure you're keeping guys accountable on and off the field. And then that goes into being the future, he says, is being the best you can as a husband, as a father, and as an employer or a business owner. So going and continuing being known in your community and being a good husband and father. That's a big thing where that culture, you kind of start it now. That's why football is the sport that best relates to life because it has so many ups and downs and all the adversity that you're going to face in football kind of can translate a little bit into life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I completely agree. And I love the Northwood Way. Like, that's just great of obviously preparing for life, but also using football to prepare for it. Because you did mention football is a sport that you're going to have its ups and your downs. You're going to have games where you play well. You're going to have games where you don't play well. You're going to have games where you turn over the ball and you have to really respond. Obviously, life maybe is a little bit more like ups and downs. Maybe it's a little bit less like black and white at times, but like that's the thing I love about sports is I can teach you so much, especially about like time management, about like what to do in adversity. And speaking of all of that, what was it like being a football player at Northwood? Like when it came to practice, games, like what was it just like life as a player? And then we'll probably talk a little bit more about life as kind of like a coach and obviously what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so like life as a player is kind of very structured. Everything's structured for you. Here at Northwood, they do a very good job in the academics that they have a schedule break when you go to schedule your classes of when your time for your extracurricular, so your sport is. So our when you go in and you schedule your classes, you can't put any classes in that block. So you know
Okay.
you're not going to miss a meeting or a class. So that's great. So it's like you have a lift at like 6 o'clock in the morning. You come in, that break of your classes are from like 2 to 5:30. So that's usually when you have your meetings, your practice, your recovery, and all that. So it's very structured for us there. I think that was the best thing, even being just a walk on that didn't see a lot of time at all. I think just having a good structure helped me successfully in the classroom as well as on the field a little bit.
Yeah, because you had to align with the structure. Like you had only a certain amount of time to have homework, study, all that. And then you obviously had to be on time for meetings. I'm sure that was probably something that was addressed. Like I'm sure if you were late for meetings or late for a practice or maybe late for classes, I'm sure that was probably something that the coaching staff probably knew and again held you accountable if that ever did happen.
Yeah, and that goes back to the Northwood Way and making sure you're keeping yourself accountable and being a best student you can be. The other thing, like with the Northwood Way, is getting 1% better every day is something he also talks a lot about. So that's not just on the field, that's also in the classroom and in life.
Exactly. And speaking of the Northwood Way, you did mention that obviously you made the transition from a player to more of a coach. What was that transition like? Like, did it really truly change? I don't want to say the Northwood Way, but was it a little bit weird kind of going from a player to more of a coach just because you kind of played with those guys? Or was it more of a pretty easy, like, transition where you just went to the coaches and just say, hey, like, I would love to help in this way. I would love to help a little bit more. Like, what did those kind of conversations go?
Yeah, it was hard at first making that decision to kind of stop playing and kind of move into that coach's role. My dad is a coach. He's been coaching at for football for about 25 years. He's been at Coleman for about 20. My mom's was a coach in high school. She did cheerleading, track and field, and stuff. My dad does softball too. So like coaching is kind of in my family. So like
Okay.
I thought there was always a chance of me becoming a coach at some point in my life. And Coach B and Coach Mir and we had kind of had a conversation about um transitioning into like an assistant helping out the coaching staff. So that included like film breakdowns, reports after games to see what was efficient. We did a big efficiency chart. Efficient is like 3 yards on first down, getting half on second and third down. Like we did all those reports to kind of look into the analytics of football and see how we can improve on the small details like that. And yeah, it was kind of weird because like we played with some of those guys. I lived with somebody in the quarterback room, so like being an assistant working with the offensive side of the ball, you kind of hear some things, but like you got to have the integrity and just all right, you got to know when to be the friend and when to be the coach, or in this case, like the offensive assistant almost helping out the offensive coordinator. So like it was kind of like I heard some things, but like I know what's good for him and I can help out on both sides. And I know when to encourage and when to like, all right, this needs to happen offensively. And like, I think we did a, I think we actually improved offensively as we that year went on, and we learned more about ourselves within the analytics of the game. As you saw, was we finished with like a winning record and stuff, and offensively we started improving towards the end of the year.
How hard was it balancing being a coach and being a friend? Because obviously, like they're your friend. Like you don't necessarily want to be like hard on them all the time. But as a coach, like if you need to have them do specific things, like you need to be there. Like, was it difficult, like balancing that, especially like kind of like was it, or was it more of like when it was on the field, it was like you're a coach, you're an assistant. When you're off your field, you're a friend.
So like my day through being an assistant with the offense was like during practice, I would be like the ball spotter and I would help out during drills. So I was like that that GA person that would be helping out at like a big program. And
Okay.
that, so like, it wasn't me like having a position group to myself.
Okay.
So I wasn't like coaching, but like, again, I was learning from the coaches, but like I was helping out at practice. And then when it came to like game day, I was in the booth, um, uh, writing down offensive plays, seeing what the defense was in, being able to read the defense, and writing down what the coverage possibly was, and some other keys that help out towards like throughout the game. So, but again, being like that, being at practice and just like sitting in meetings and stuff, like, yeah, that balancing when to be a friend and when to be that, um, go towards like the coach's side, it was kind of just like, encouraging, trying to get the best out of people no matter when. And that's what a friend usually does too, is trying to get the best out of their guy. So I think that didn't change a lot of my relationships with players on the team. Um, so it was just something that I kind of wanted to go move in towards and kind of learn more about the coaching side of the sport. And I think it was the best thing that I did at that time.
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely great. Like that didn't change like friendships or didn't change anything, but obviously you still got to kind of learn the coaching side of things, which you did mention that your dad was a coach. What was it like to play for him? Like, was it fun? Was it interesting? Like, how was
It
that
was
whole
fun.
situation?
It was
Okay.
fun. So he was my football coach for all 4 years of high school, and it was very interesting. He didn't treat me like his son during football. He treated me as every other player. I had to earn my way to get into my spot, earn my time. Um, but there were times where like if like he treated some other guys on the team like like he was their son more than he treated me like I
Yeah.
was his son. So and that was just that's how my group was at high school, where like we were all just brothers, like, and he treated a lot of them like their own son, like he was their own son, and that was just how the guys were then. Um but like when it came time like defending me in certain cases, like if there was like a dirty hit or a call that wasn't correct, he stuck up for me, but he stuck up for me as a coach. He knew when to flip the switch between being a coach and being a dad, and that was kind of like once he got home, he became a dad. He stopped being a coach for a little bit, and it was whenever we were in film or on the bus or in the locker room or on the field, like he was a coach. And I think he did great balancing that. And I think I give him props for being able to balance that and not trying to play favorites like like some people probably thought he was, and being able to not take things home when he was upset at me. I know there were plenty of times when he was upset at me, and I'm like, all right, and he would yell at me at practice or on the field, and then when we got home, it was not that, it was okay. So I think it was an awesome experience. I would 100% do it again of having him as my coach. Right now, my brother is going through the same thing. He's a
Okay.
sophomore at Coleman, so he's doing the same thing, getting coached under my dad. So he's kind of seeing that firsthand. But it was fun. It was fun. It was interesting, but it was fun.
I was just gonna say it's almost probably like you wouldn't have it any other way because it obviously forced you to be the player, forced you to be the quarterback that you were, right? Like it made you better, but then you also got to obviously spend time with your dad playing a sport that you love and obviously got to do in college. That got to kind of experience a little bit of what it's like to be a coach in college. Do you ever see yourself coaching, or did you kind of learn a little bit about coaching a little bit as an assistant, saying, "Hey, this might not necessarily be the route for me"?
No, so I had this conversation with Coach B probably a month or so ago, talking a little bit more about it. And I told him because we were trying to figure out if I wanted to come back and help again as an assistant or just wanted to stay on the media side. And I told him I think I just want to be on the media side right now, work on that because I think that's going to be my career coming short term. Like that's going to probably be what I'm doing after school. And I told him like coaching would be something that comes in my life at some point. It will probably be end up being later down the road, but it will be something that's a part of my life no matter what. But I wanted to build that my skills in the media industry more, and because I knew that was what's probably going to get me a job opportunity after school here in May.
Yeah, no, absolutely, which makes complete sense. And I'll quickly kind of ask one question before we kind of get into media because I just thought of one. Because you did mention being a coach at Northwood, everything that you had to do, you had to watch film, you had to look at coverages, see what they were in. How important was it being a quarterback when you're doing that? Because as a quarterback, you need to see like everything on the field. Like you need to know everything. You need to know what certain players are running, what coverage they're getting, like what they do here, what they do there. As a quarterback, is that something that you really enjoyed? Because that's just kind of part of what you did as a player, but now you're doing it as a coach trying to see it from that perspective rather than in the shotgun or under center.
Yeah, it was yeah, as a quarterback, it was like you had the understanding of what you would wanting to look for. And I think it helped tremendously probably understanding what I'm looking for as a quarterback and such. So yeah, to trying to that question was very interesting because there was two parts to it I was going to say. So like after going through the assistant part, it kind of helped me more. I think um, being able to explain, I coached a 7-on-7 team here in Bedland, or I used to, an 18U team with Michigan Made Athletics, and I was able to help teach the younger quarterbacks a little more about understanding the defense and reading the defense. And I think I learned more about that as the assistant role than I did as a player. And I think
Okay.
that will help me more helping younger guys and such. And I think if I ever transition back into playing, I think I would understand more after being in that coaching role and spending more time with the staff and hearing more about what they had to say. So I think, yeah, being a quarterback, it's a little easier to understand all that.
Can you enjoy going to football games, or are you trying to get in the coaching mindset, the player mindset, watching football games, like saying, "What would I do here? What would I do there?" Do you just try to turn that off a little bit and just enjoy football? I'm sure probably at Northwood you're focusing a lot more on taking pictures than exactly what's going on, but like outside of that.
Uh, I would say that my understanding of football and after being in that role kind of actually helped me out a little bit in taking photos and videos and stuff.
Okay.
Being able to understand like the situation, what and anticipate what's about to happen. That's a big thing in photo. That's a big thing in the media is being able to anticipate. So like we kind of have to have a little understanding of how the game's going to go. If it's like Saturday, we understood it was a defensive battle. So focusing a little more on the defense and understanding that they're going to have some emotion after a big stop. So, but um, to be like, put it forward, like, yeah, I would say that understanding the game is very important going into like media and such. And so, yeah.
So, speaking of getting in media, photography, graphic design, how did that whole thing start? Was it something you've always wanted to do? Was it like a goal of yours when you kind of got into college? Was it just something that kind of found you?
I would say yes and no. So if let's say COVID-19 never happened, I don't know if I would ever go into the media side of sport. I think I would try to be a player and then a coach, and that would be my life. I think COVID-19 really um, let me get into that. We had because like in high school they had zero to limited amount of people that could be at events, in high school. So the thing that me and a couple of my friends did in high school is we started like a Instagram and Facebook page to help get information out on how to watch the high school sports, some of the stats and the final scores of sports, and like no one could, no news outlets could really get to games. So like we had to step up, and we ended up like taking photos at events so we could use them for like graphics. Like if you we started the Coleman Comet Athletics page on Instagram. I don't know if there's still um graphics up from like 2019 and or 2020, 2021, and 2022 about like that would have been like me and a couple of friends that did all that. So that was kind of something we did in high school because of COVID. And without COVID, I don't think that would have happened. So it was yes and no, but like once I got into it, going into senior year, I kept it going. We didn't have the restrictions got lifted and everything, and that was kind of my senior year was kind of when I figured out, hey, this is what I want to do. So that was I just started taking it a little more seriously, and trying to find where can I go to be able to do this. And I think going to a business school is great because you can learn all the skill set about taking photos and video. You can kind of learn most of that on YouTube and just getting out and shooting and getting experience. But the business side of stuff is the hard part. The financing, the budgeting, the being able to market yourself well. I think that's what Northwood does great at, and that's why I kind of chose here is so I can market myself and my business. That I am myself. I am the entity. I am the business. So being able to market myself and being able to handle my money and stuff, I think is very important. So yeah, I would say it was something that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have what happened in 2020.
Which is crazy, right? Because I've had athletes, I've had several different people on this podcast, and they mentioned about how COVID kind of changed things for them. And I feel like COVID kind of, for a lot of people, look back on not necessarily the greatest time, but for a lot of like athletes, for a lot of people like you, that's one of those times where they really like put their foot down and found what they were passionate about, found what they wanted to do. And throughout that time, like obviously graphics, photography, sports media, stuff like that now has blown up the last couple of years, but it truly feels like back in 2019, 2020, no one was talking about the sports photographers. No one was talking about the media people. Like, no one was thinking about doing all these graphics type stuff. And now you see, like, everyone wants to do
Yeah.
it, or everyone wants a graphic. Like, everyone wants to be on a cool graphic because everyone's like, hey, you know what? That's me. Like, when you did that, did you ever imagine kind of being in the spot that you are right now? Because you've had cool opportunities. You're at Northwood. You've also had opportunities to be with the Saginaw hockey team. Like you're probably going to get opportunities elsewhere. Like you've had a ton of opportunities and ton of unique things that you have done. Could you ever have imagined yourself at this point when you first started out?
Not really. I was really thinking that I was just gonna be at the university I was gonna be at and try to potentially to be a GA after school somewhere like at Central or a bigger school and kind of try to hopefully I could just transition into a job from there. But after being working with like the high A MILB team here in Midland, the Great Lakes Loons, I kind of see more of that professional baseball side. And then working with the Spirit here and there, I got to see more of the professional hockey side. So I think it's starting to slowly transition into I'm hoping that I can work in the professional sports field more than just working in college athletics. Because then I have more of that structure comes back of I'm shooting one sport. I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about shooting multiple sports and changing the way I shoot. Like there's a big difference between shooting basketball and shooting volleyball. Um, Volleyball is a little faster, things happen quicker. Basketball, the people are faster, but you know what you're going to get out of basketball. You're going to get multiple um things. So like it's like a guy dribbling, you know where the ball's at almost at all times. But with volleyball, you have to that anticipation. It's so fast. I shot volleyball for the first time this year on Saturday, and it was very fast paced. It took me a while to get back into the the run of it. So like, but the big thing is just shooting the action and shooting the emotion of the game.
Which one do you like better? Do you like kind of the more volleyball, kind of like the faster pace, trying to figure out exactly where to take the shot? Or do you like the basketball where it's more of like it is fast paced, but you kind of know exactly what's going to eventually end up?
I think that's the hardest question. I've been asked multiple times, "What's my favorite sport to shoot?" And I think that's always the hardest question because it's always like, what kind of shot are you thinking? If it's the best action shot, I think football's got some of the better action shots. If it's emotion, I think you have to go with volleyball and basketball because basketball, there's a lot of emotion. Like if the guy is dunking at somebody, that you're expecting to have a good photo of Elijah Watson after getting a big breakaway dunk, just yelling at the camera. And then even in volleyball, after a set, there's always emotion. There was a long volley on Saturday, and you knew you could anticipate, all right, this is if we get the point, it's gonna get hype, and you're gonna want that shot. And got to capture that emotion from that set or that point, and it was pretty sweet. So like, if you're looking for emotional shots, yeah, volleyball is the probably the biggest one in my opinion. But like, if you're looking for being able to tell a story for the entire game, I think the longer sports like track and field and baseball and softball, you can kind of tell a story throughout because like you have multiple innings in softball. So you can be like, all right, they came out slow. You can show that they came out slow with emotion, and then you can show the action of the home run, the pitcher pitching, pitcher yelling after coming off the mound, a home run celebration that kind of helps tell the story of how the game went.
Yeah, which that's what I love about photography is they say like a picture's worth 1,000 words. Like you can tell a whole story through a specific picture, through multiple pictures. Like you're talking about seeing the motion. Do you get, like, pumped or fire up when you get that great, like, emotion or get that great picture? Like, does that really get you, like, going? Or is it more of just like, "Okay, that's cool, but let's just go on." Like, what kind of emotion do you get when you get, like, that really cool picture, you look back and you might not realize how cool it was, but then you go through at the end of the day and you're like, "Oh, like, that's actually a really cool picture, and I never thought about that at that time."
So yeah, I do get hype about some things. Like if I'm looking for a certain shot and I get it, and then yeah, I get very excited. And even sometimes when I'm not expecting to get a shot and I end up getting it, it's a very exciting feeling. Like my sport, a lot of people will say it's like 10% skill, 90% luck, and it truly is. That's kind of what it is. It's like you need to set yourself up for success by having the correct settings, being in the right spot. But then after that, it's just like luck of, all right, this needs to happen. You're kind of hoping it happens in sport. So like that. So when you do get it, you're like very excited because like all your prep for the shot worked out.
How much prep goes into that? Like, how much time, how much precision is needed when doing sports photography? Because I saw a picture of you, and I believe you had like two cameras in the back, a third. Like you have just so many different cameras. You also have the computer on the sideline. Like you're just running back and forth. How much like time and how stressful can that be when, especially in a high level leverage game?
Yeah. So like, um, this year we've kind of stepped it up. We got a couple more people working with us here in athletics. I think on Saturday I had a crew about 5 people. Saginaw, we had a crew of 5 people. Our big thing about like a bigger game like Saginaw, it's a rival game. It's the X Bowl. You kind of want to capture the emotion of the X Bowl. And those are historic shots, is what I said. Like this is the end of the like throughout the game you could mess up and not get a shot, but like during like after the game with the celebration, you couldn't. I told my team like you can't mess up here. This is the stressful point, is like these shots will be used for to tell the story of what happened that day. But like throughout the game, I'm like we had a touchdown, we had a turnover. I think we had a turnover and then a touchdown, or and then that led into like we had to get a post out. So like we're doing live posting here at Northwood. That's the new thing, especially for football. For like other sports, we're trying like soccer. We do some live posting. When they scored their first goal of the year, I ran up to my computer in the press box at Saginaw Valley, and I got those photos and got the live stream video to use. And That was that's always stressful because like when you leave the field of play and you go to your computer and you have to edit something real fast, you're just hoping nothing else exciting's happening on the field. You miss that picture. So, but being able to have a crew now, shout out to like Jackson Harris, James Corvey, Luke Bills, Addison West, Grace Look, Paige Meelan, all those guys are helping me out huge. So like I can step away for a little bit and know that they're shooting the action, and we can still have those shots if something happens. So yeah, so I think that's the most stressful part is when I have to leave and go edit a photo and make a post on Instagram and Twitter and or now X, and yeah, but that stress is kind of gone a little bit as we're all finding our groove again, and I think next week is this coming week is gonna be big because we got two volleyball matches, two soccer matches for men's and women's, and we have football on Saturday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously having a team to work with, working with those guys and girls, like you get really close with them and you work with them and then you kind of have again connections. But you did mention the picture of the Axe Bowl at the end. Like that's a historical shot. That was an awesome shot, to be completely honest with you. I saw that you can see truly the emotion. Then you also got a shot with the axe being blue as well. I'm sure that was pretty fun holding that and
Is
keeping it blue.
Yeah, because last year I didn't get to shoot the X ball, so we had Jackson Harris was our photographer for that game, and he had a good photo, and I'm like, I got to use it for the win graphic, but again, the handle's red at that point, so it's like we gotta run it back so I can get some photos while the axe is blue, and so that was a good thing because now we can finally just use the blue axe photos and not have to worry about the one that axe was red.
Yeah, no, and that's what happens when you win back-to-back years is you get to keep the axe blue, which I know prior to last year was a little while since Northwood had won it, but back-to-back years with Coach B and that program, there seems to be a ton of momentum going for there, and I'm sure it's been a ton of fun watching that.
Yeah, and working with athletics, you always look into like the historical facts. So we after that week 2 win at Saginaw, we look back. That was the first time a coach has won back to back since I believe 2008. I believe is
Okay,
what it was, and that was with Coach Rietma. And then it's the first time since 2003 that Northwood's been 3-0. So that starting the season 3-0, and that was back I believe with Coach I would have to look back at it, but there's been a couple of coaches. But yeah, so also looking at like the historical facts is cool because then you're like, this is also a cool moment because this hasn't happened at Northwood for a while. So, and again, that goes back into like the success, and that's I think Northwood is picking up. Like I said, like baseball has been historically has been consistent. They've made 9 straight NCAA playoff appearances. Um, they've the second time they've won the GMAC title in this is the third year we've been in the GMAC. They've won 2 out of 3. Softball won one last year. Women's soccer won one last year or 2 years ago. Um, so I think it's just the Northwood Athletics right now are on the rise. Volleyball had a very good year last year. Yet we're missing a couple people. So I just talked to Coach Shoemaker. We're like they're off to a slow start right now, but he's like we have a lot of newer people in important spots. So they're still finding their culture. They're still finding their identity. And he said that it's gonna be a long week or a long season, but they're gonna improve. Like they're stepping it up. They got Hillsdale on Saturday or on Friday, I mean, and then they have Saginaw Valley on Tuesday. So they have those are 2 important games right there because we have the rivalry between Saginaw, and then on Friday we have a traveling trophy called the Jack against Hillsdale.
okay,
That's an all sport trophy, so it's like you get a point for each game you play them.
okay.
So if like it's a point if volleyball wins, it's a point for Northwood. So last year we lost the Jack to Hillsdale, so the goal is to get it back. That was a trophy that kind of got re-brought up. That was a trophy that kind of came out of the archives, I should say.
Yeah, I did not know that between Hillsdale and Northwood that there is the Jack. So definitely learned something new there. And obviously, like you're saying, you know a ton of the history because you're in sports media, and it's going to be a history that you're going to be involved in. Like it's going to be pictures that you have taken, pictures of the other people you've worked taken. Like it's just going to be part of there that's going to be there forever. And because of that, like what's been maybe the coolest experience you have had so far doing media? Is it the games? Is it media days? I'm sure media days are pretty fun for you. Maybe a little bit more fun for the athletes because they get to do where I don't want to say whatever they want, but they get to have fun those days as well. Or is it like Northwood going to the World Series, or is it the Expo? Like, if you had to pick a couple of specific things, like what's something that you'll never forget because you were able to be in media?
I would say media days are not on that list. Media days are very
Okay,
stressful for me. They're
yeah,
great for the players. They're a little stressful for me. The images are great when they come out when we use them because it's like the one day we can create, we can gather assets to use for graphics and photos and other things going throughout the whole season to help promote the team. But that is a very stressful day for me because we have to make sure we get enough photos of everybody. And looking for some creative shots to use for certain graphics. But I think if I had to ever pick an event in the past couple of years, I think, um, it would probably have to be, baseball winning the GMAC tournament here this past season. I was able to go down to Prasco Park and capture the championship game, and I was able to follow baseball for a while during the year, and they're always a team that was welcome you with open arms and treat you as one, and I think being able to go capture them winning that was awesome, and the being able to watch them go to the World Series was awesome as well. I wish I was able to go down there, but I had to work for the Great Lakes Loons and I had an internship down in Utica. So like I was busy and I wish I could just like travel out there for that have for that opportunity because I think it would have been great to capture it. I know it didn't end the way they wanted it to, but it was still a next step in Northwood athletics. So I think being able to capture those next steps are awesome because you get to see Northwood athletics level up.
absolutely. And hopefully, maybe you get the chance this year, depending on how probably going, depending on what your future aspirations are.
Yeah, I know, this year we get to host the GMAC, cross country championships here in October, so that's gonna be a big event that I get to cover. Um, we'll also have the GMAC GLIAC crossover for men's basketball, so Ferris State and Lake Superior State will be in town, um, against us in Lake Erie. So
Okay.
that's gonna be another good cool opportunity. Again, if women's soccer stays as steady as they are right now, they're looking at a chance to host at least a quarterfinal game, if not a semifinal and a final, um, for the GMAC championship. So I think being able to see Timberwolves athletics grow and they keep making opportunities for themselves. I was able to capture the last year was another big one was the women's basketball won their first GMAC or first playoff game in the GMAC. I think it was their winning their first home playoff game. So I believe Jeff Curtis was the women's basketball coach. So that was another historic opportunity capture, and so I think that's the big thing is being able to capture as Northwood teams build their success. So
Yeah, and hopefully you have many more of those opportunities this year. And I know that you definitely will. I know that you're extremely excited about that. But I know we're kind of getting close on the time right here. So I do want to end on one last question. Obviously, we've talked about football, we've talked about coaching, we've talked about sports media. And it sounds like sports media is going to be your future. What are your biggest aspirations when it comes to photography, graphic design, sports media as a whole? Like if you were to join this podcast in let's say 20 years, if I'm still doing this, which is zero chance that's probably happening. Maybe if I make it a career, maybe it will. But what would be your biggest aspiration, like your highest goal? Like if I reach that point, like I've reached my pinnacle.
yeah, that's a hard question. I think it's a very hard question. So like everyone always has like the spot they want to be in. I think where I want to be is I want to be somewhere that um I can see myself just being there for 10 years. I think this is an industry where you're always kind of moving spots and like you can start in one spot and end up moving across the country to work for another sports team. I think that's kind of something that it would be cool to do, be awesome to do. But I think for me, I think being able to be closer to home, and that in the Midwest region is kind of the overall goal, and being able to be in a spot for like 10 years would be awesome. And just growing from there. And I think like I understand that I guys are small, so like minor league baseball, minor league hockey, those things is probably going to be like the start, and then from there just build connections and try to get up to the big leagues. If that's the Lions, it's the Lions. If it's the Tigers, it's Tigers, the Wings, all those. Or even it's like going to Columbus, Ohio, and working for Ohio State. Like, yeah, I'm not. I don't get big into the Ohio State, Michigan State thing because my favorite college team is Northwood Timberwolves. So
Exactly.
um, it that I don't really get into that. I've always people are like, "Are you go blue or go green?" I'm like, "No, don't. It doesn't matter.
You're the
I just
Timbies.
I want a good game. I want it to not be a blowout. I'll just say that." And but I know like working for like those bigger universities and programs would be another cool thing to do too. So I think it's not like I don't have like a team as the main goal. I think it's just getting up to the the biggest level I can.
Yeah, no, which is obviously a great goal because I do hope you're able to shoot for the Tigers, for the Red Wings, for the Pistons, or a big college level. Like, I do truly hope you are able to achieve that. And obviously, I know that you and I have worked together for a little while, but I truly think you're really good at what you do, man. Like, I truly think you're really
Thank
good.
you.
I think you've done great things. I think you're going to continue to do great things. And I appreciate you being along for my somewhat journey. Definitely not as big as what you're going to make it, but I appreciate you joining, man. Really hope that you had
Of
fun
course, of course.
and wish you the best of luck. And hopefully we'll continue to work together and build this thing up as well.
All right, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. Hope you had fun. Would love to have you back on if that ever works out. I always say the door is always open for anyone to join again. But yeah, I'll give you the rest of your day back. But really appreciate you joining. And yeah, that is a wrap to episode number 493. Thank you again to Ty for joining and tune in to the next episode.